Are they going to have J.K. Rowling on or Caroline Farrow to comment about that wicked, evil Peter Tatchell tweet? Don't bet on it. Hi, my name's Graham Thompson. This is an off-the-cuff incandescent rant. So apologies in advance if it is somewhat splutteringly incoherent, but work with me on this, as they say. So, yesterday, Dan Wootton had Peter Tatchell on, helping that pro-child abuse beast cover his evil with a mask of virtue. And just over an hour ago, Patrick Christie's, and I've got a name wrong, apologies, Iman Ayaya, something like that, they had Mr. Tatchell on as well, doing the same. A pro-child abuse beast, helping him to do what Jimmy Savile did. And what Mr. Tatchell was on saying last night, I didn't bother watching what he's told Dan Wootton, but he said the same to him as I just heard him say to Patrick Christie's and Iman. On the hypocrisy of the Stop the War left, made immaculate points, couldn't disagree with them, but he wouldn't be doing what he's doing unless it's to aid his lifetime ambition to make buggering little boys legal. He is on record as wanting, quote, early aged children to be able to consent to have sex. And this is the monster that they have on, helping him to cover his evil with a mask of virtue. I tell you so, I'm deeply conservative. Of course, it's great seeing an editorially conservative, pardon me, news channel on. But the amount of times now that they have pushed this pro-paedophile monster is sickening. If GBNews goes to the wall, I will not be shedding a tear. In fact, I will probably be celebrating it, because the only rationale I can think of for why they are constantly promoting this monster as a good guy is because there are paedophiles working at GBNews who are keen to do that. I'll also have a word to say about the Daily Mail. They, as I understand it, I'm going to check it, they run a piece of Mr. Tatchell's condemning the hypocrisy of the Stop the War left. And as I understand it, they actually said Peter Tatchell is Britain's bravest man. Anyone who works in media, and many besides like myself, are fully aware of Mr. Tatchell's history of blatant paedophile advocacy, and they are covering that man's evil with that mask of virtue that he has so assiduously cultivated since he ditched directly advocating for paedophilia towards the end of the 90s. Directly, he was openly advocating paedophilia but still gaslighting people that he wasn't doing so, but people can read and people can hear him. And Dan Wootton last night, on the same day that Peter Tatchell tweeted this evil filth against J.K. Rowling, and I shall remember her name and Caroline Farrow, Dan Wootton was pushing Peter Tatchell, this monster, as one of the good guys. J.K. Rowling sends big love to anti-gay anti-trans, anti-abortion and anti-feminist activist Caroline Farrow. Too often trans critics get support from the misogynist, homophobic far right and sometimes express support for them. This is reactionary politics. This was a left-wing women's rights activist showing sisterly solidarity with a right-wing women's rights activist who had suffered years of harassment from trans rights activists that nearly led her to a nervous breakdown. Peter Tatchell has never condemned Caroline Farrow's harassment. He's only condemned J.K. Rowling for showing solidarity with her. Why would Peter Tatchell tweet such hate-filled filth to demonise opponents of transing children? Because if you can trans children, if children can consent to change in their sex, they will be able to consent to have sex. That's why pro-child abuse beasts like Peter Tatchell are so big on trans. Peter Tatchell is a sexual sadist. He actually wants to mutilate children, many of whom who will grow up and be homosexual. He actually wants to bodily mutilate them to help abolish the age of consent. That is the monster we are talking about that GB News is constantly promoting. And that information about him wanting the age of consent reduced to early age children, that came out at the end of July last year, brought out by The Telegraph. Is GB News going to have the Telegraph journalist on who broke that story about just what a monster Peter Tatchell is? Are they? I have no sign of it. Are they going to have J.K. Rowling on or Caroline Farrow to comment about that wicked, evil Peter Tatchell tweet? Don't bet on it if my theory about paedophiles at GB News is correct. And this great human rights advocate Peter Tatchell, nobly, piously condemning the hypocrisy of the Stop the War left, he is one of the drivers behind a proposal that Liz Truss is considering of putting before Parliament, of locking people up for up to 5 years if they try to undo the grooming, the LGBTQ grooming in schools that Parliament voted for overwhelmingly in 2019. He wants to lock LGBTQ opponents up for up to 5 years. I feel my head might be about to explode. So before that happens, great video it would make, although someone would have to cut it afterwards. I'm going to end it here. GB News, you utter paedophile enabling disgrace of a news channel.